Have you ever had a moment in life where you ask yourself, why is this happening to me? Why does it hurt so much? Why would God let this happen? Listen to me. Sometimes the very thing that shatters your heart is the hand of God saving your soul. I came to tell somebody today that pain you're feeling isn't punishment. That heartbreak wasn't to destroy you. It was to rescue you from a future you couldn't see. God will allow what feels like a breaking to protect you, to shape you, and to awaken the strength inside you that you never thought you had. Because the truth is, your weakness does not push God away. Your weakness does not disqualify you. Your weakness invites His mercy closer, not His rejection. So if you've been feeling broken, if you've been questioning the pain, don't you dare give up. God is working behind the breaking. Sometimes the most loving thing God can do is allow your heart to break. I know that sounds strange, even painful to hear, but stay with me. Because when your heart is breaking, it feels like your whole world is falling apart. It feels like everything you built, everything you believed in, everything you hoped for is crumbling right in front of you. The weight of the disappointment is so heavy, the silence so loud, the loneliness so deep that you start to question your worth, your choices, your future, even your faith. But what you don't see in that moment is that the breaking is not the end, it's the beginning of your saving. See, you and I can only see what's right in front of us. We can only see the surface of people, situations, opportunities, and plans. But God sees the entire picture. God sees the traps before you step into them. God sees the hearts of the people you trusted long before they ever showed you their betrayal. God sees the road you're walking. And sometimes the road you're so determined to follow leads straight to destruction. But instead of forcing you to turn around, instead of dragging you back, sometimes the only way God can truly rescue you is to allow your heart to break. Because it is in the breaking, it is in the shattering, that your stubborn will is softened, your blind spots are exposed, and your soul becomes quiet enough to hear His guidance. Sometimes God will allow the relationship you thought would last forever to fall apart, not because you weren't good enough, but because He saw things you didn't. Sometimes God will allow the business you worked so hard for to collapse, not because He wanted you to fail, but because it was never meant to carry you to the next chapter. Sometimes God will allow doors to close so hard it leaves you stunned, standing there asking, why, God? Why would you let this happen to me? And the answer is, because He loves you enough to break your heart before the world breaks your soul. It is better for God to break your heart today than for life to destroy your destiny tomorrow. It is better for God to tear something away from you now than for you to be trapped in something that will cost you more later. That heartbreak you survived wasn't meant to destroy you, it was meant to deliver you. Sometimes the heartbreak is the only way to slow you down long enough to save you. Because when your heart is shattered, your pride can't stand tall. When your heart is broken, your ears open wider. When your dreams collapse, you finally start asking God what His dream is for your life. And here's the truth. God does not break your heart to leave you empty. God allows the breaking so He can rebuild you stronger, wiser, and aligned with His protection and purpose. What you thought was the end was actually a rescue mission in disguise. What you thought was rejection was really redirection. What you thought was lost was really God making space for something far better. So don't let your heart convince you that the breaking was a punishment. The breaking was the proof of His protection. You were not abandoned. You were saved. You were not forgotten. You were being shaped. And one day you will look back and say, if it hadn't broken me, it would have buried me. But God used the breaking to save me. Pain is one of the most misunderstood tools in life. When it shows up, it doesn't knock on your door and ask for permission. It barges in, uninvited and unannounced, and shakes everything you thought was secure. It rearranges your plans, it disrupts your peace, and it leaves you wondering why a loving God would allow your heart to ache so deeply. But what many of us fail to realize is that pain is not always the enemy. Sometimes pain is the very tool God uses to shift your direction, to rescue you from roads that would have destroyed you. and to lead you into places you never would have gone on your own. There are moments in life when you're so sure about the path you're on. You believe the relationship is right, the job is secure, the plan is perfect, the friends are genuine, and the future is bright. But God, who sees beyond the moment, knows that the path you're walking is leading you straight into danger. He knows that behind that beautiful door is a room full of heartbreak. He knows that the people you're surrounded by don't have hearts that match their smiles. He knows that the thing you've wrapped your whole identity around is built on a foundation too weak to carry your destiny. So instead of letting you walk headfirst into disaster, God allows pain to interrupt the journey. That's why you lost the thing you thought you couldn't live without. That's why the relationship you prayed would last fell apart. That's why the door you were desperate to walk through slammed shut. It wasn't random. It wasn't by accident. God was shifting your direction. He was allowing the pain to break your attachment to something that could not carry you into your future. Because the truth is, without pain, we rarely move. Without pain, we stay in comfort zones that are far too small for the purpose God placed inside of us. Without pain, we hold on to relationships that drain us, dreams that limit us, and places that stunt us. Pain, as cruel as it feels, is often the only thing strong enough to make us let go of what we thought we needed so God can place into our hands what we were truly made for. When God allows pain to enter your life, it's not because He's abandoned you. It's because He loves you too much to leave you where you are. It's because He sees what's ahead and knows the current path would break you in ways that would cost you too much. So instead, He allows the temporary pain to reroute you, to realign your heart with His plan, to prepare you for the greater things He's already set in motion. You see, pain has a way of making you pay attention. It sharpens your focus. It strips away the noise. It reveals what's real and what was always false. It uncovers who's truly for you and who was only there for convenience. It pulls you out of shallow living and forces you to go deeper, deeper in faith, deeper in purpose, deeper in strength. And once the pain has done its work, you begin to see what you couldn't see before. That the heartbreak you hated was the bridge to the blessing you needed. That the rejection you thought was unfair was actually your redirection to something far greater. That the closed door was not the end of your story, but the start of a new chapter, one that could only begin after you let go of the path that pain interrupted. So if you're in a season of pain right now, don't mistake it for abandonment. Don't let it convince you that your story is over. Don't let it lie to you and tell you you're unworthy. Sometimes the pain is the proof that God is still directing your steps. Sometimes the pain is the evidence that He's shifting your direction, not because you did something wrong, but because He's about to lead you somewhere right. Trust the shift, even when it hurts, because the pain is temporary, but the destination will be worth it. There's a lie that far too many people believe, the lie that your weakness makes you unworthy of God's help, that your struggles somehow push you too far from His reach, that your flaws and failures make you unlovable, and your mistakes disqualify you from mercy. But the truth is the complete opposite. Your weakness doesn't make God turn away from you, it draws Him closer. Your weakness is not a wall between you and God, it's a door through which His mercy walks in, and a door through which His strength shows up when yours has run out. See, the world teaches us to hide our weaknesses, to pretend we've got it all together, to wear a mask of strength even when our souls are falling apart. We've learned to measure worth by perfection, and to believe that if we can't handle everything on our own, we must not be enough. But God doesn't measure like the world does. He isn't looking for the perfect, the polished, the put together. God isn't drawn to the ones who have it all figured out. He is drawn to the broken, the weary, the ones who are barely holding on but still choose to reach for Him. Your weakness is not a disappointment to God, it's an invitation. It's an open space for him to step in and show you what real strength looks like. Because as long as you believe you can do it all on your own, you leave no room for divine help. As long as you wear the mask of strength, you shut out the comfort of his mercy. But the moment you drop the act, the moment you finally whisper, I can't do this alone, that's the moment heaven leans in closer. That's the moment his mercy rushes in, not to judge you, not to scold you, but to carry you. Your weakness invites God's mercy the way dry land invites the rain. When you reach the end of yourself, you reach the beginning of his help. When your strength fails, his strength stands. When your hope fades, his promises remain. God doesn't wait for you to fix yourself to love you. He loves you in the middle of your weakness. He meets you at the lowest point, not the highest. He doesn't withdraw when you're falling apart. He draws near. The more broken you are, the more room you give him to heal you. The more lost you feel, the more space you give him to guide you. The more empty you are, the more room he has to fill you. So don't let your weakness convince you that you are disqualified. Don't let the struggle in your mind or the burden on your heart tell you that God is done with you. He is not done. The very fact that you are aware of your weakness is the proof that he is still working on you, in you, and for you. Weakness is not your ending, it is your connection point to his endless mercy. There are some lessons strength will never teach you, but weakness will. Strength will make you think you've got it all under control, but weakness will remind you that you need God for every breath, every step, every decision. Strength may feed your pride, but weakness will feed your relationship with him. Because when you can no longer carry yourself, you'll finally let him carry you. So stop hiding your weakness like it's something to be ashamed of. Stop thinking you've got to have all the answers and all the strength before you approach God. His mercy is drawn to the places you are trying so hard to cover. His grace flows into the cracks you're trying to seal. And his love is waiting on the other side of your surrender. Your weakness is not the end of your story. It's where his story with you truly begins. Because every time you reach your limit, God will exceed it. Every time you feel like you've hit rock bottom, you'll find that his mercy was already there waiting to lift you. You don't have to be perfect to be loved. You just have to be willing to let him in. Your weakness invites his mercy, not his rejection. God doesn't need your perfection. He desires your surrender. He's not sitting in the heavens waiting for you to reach a flawless version of yourself before he moves on your behalf. He's not searching for people who never fall, never cry, never doubt, never feel weak. No, what God looks for is the heart that is willing, even when the hands are shaking. He looks for the person who may have stumbled 100 times, but still finds the strength to whisper, God, I need you. So many times we believe the lie that our weakness disqualifies us from his love. We start thinking, if I was stronger, if I was smarter, if I had more faith, if I could just get it right, maybe then God would help me. But let me tell you the truth. It's in your weakest moment that his mercy is most available. His mercy is not earned by strength. It is poured out because of need. The world rewards the strong, but God lifts the broken. The world applauds those who appear fearless, but God draws near to those who admit their fear. There is power in vulnerability. There is strength in surrender. There is beauty in weakness, because weakness makes room for God's presence in your life. When you stop trying to carry it all on your own, when you stop pretending to be invincible, when you finally admit that you've reached your limit, that's when the breakthrough begins. That's when the door opens for God's mercy to step in, not as a last resort, but as the only true source of strength you ever needed. You don't have to climb your way to God. He meets you where you are. You don't have to fix yourself before he loves you. He loved you long before you even knew you were broken. He's not repelled by your weakness. He's attracted to your honesty. the heart that cries out in the middle of the night, the soul that feels too heavy to stand but still calls on his name. That's the kind of heart God moves for. That's the kind of heart mercy was made for. So many times we think that weakness is failure, but in the eyes of God, weakness is an invitation. It's an open door for his strength to take over. It's in the moments where you say, God, I can't do this, that he answers, good, because I can. It's when you're exhausted from the weight of life that he whispers, my strength is made perfect in your weakness. You see, God doesn't need you to be strong all the time. He just needs you to stay connected to him, especially when you feel like you're falling apart. Some of the most powerful moments in your life won't happen when everything is going right. They won't happen when you're standing tall on the mountaintop. They happen in the quiet, tear-soaked moments when you're on your knees, hands shaking, voice cracking, heart breaking, and you still call on him. That is where heaven meets earth. That is where mercy meets your weakness. That is where God wraps his strength around your shattered pieces and begins to rebuild you stronger than before. Weakness is not your enemy. Weakness is the place where God's power shows up and shows off. Your weakness reminds you that you were never meant to carry this life alone. Your weakness keeps you grounded in grace. Your weakness opens the door for a relationship, not a performance. And the more you lean on God in those moments, the more you'll realize that he never expected you to have it all together. He only expected you to trust him enough to let him carry what you couldn't. So don't be ashamed of your weakness. Don't hide from God because of your brokenness. His mercy doesn't reject the broken, it rebuilds them. His mercy doesn't walk away from the weak, he carries them. Your weakness isn't the end, it's the beginning of a deeper, more powerful encounter with God. So stand in your weakness, not with shame, but with confidence, knowing that it is the very thing that invites his mercy, his love, and his unstoppable strength into your life. It is so easy to forget that God is never limited by what limits you. When life backs you into a corner, when the walls close in, and the weight of your struggles feels heavier than your strength can carry, you might start to believe the lie that this is where your story ends. You might convince yourself that your problems are too big, your circumstances too complicated, your heart too broken, your past too messy. But the truth is, what limits you will never limit God. God is not confined by your resources, your emotions, your surroundings, or your human understanding. He is not bound by time, distance, or even your current condition. He is the one who speaks to the storm and tells it to be still. He is the one who makes a way where there was no way. He is the one who can open doors no man can shut and shut doors no man can open. Your weakness may stop you, but it can never stop him. Sometimes God will let you reach the end of yourself just to show you the beginning of him. Sometimes he will allow every option you thought you had to dry up, every person you were depending on to walk away, every plan you were holding to fall apart, not to destroy you. Because as long as you think your strength is enough, you will settle for small victories. But when you are forced to surrender and lean fully on God, that is when the impossible becomes reality. What limits you does not limit God. Your bank account may be empty, but God's provision is endless. Your heart may be broken, but God's healing knows no boundaries. Your body may feel weak, but God's power never runs dry. Your situation may look hopeless, but God is the author of hope. Your connections may fall short, but God's favor will open doors no connection could ever touch. When you come to the place where you say, I can't, God steps in and says, I can. When you fall to your knees and think there's no way out, God whispers, I am the way. When the world says it's over, God says, I'm just getting started. You are not fighting your battles alone. Even on the days when it feels like no one sees you, God is already working behind the scenes. He is already arranging the breakthrough. He is already turning the pain into purpose, the setback into a setup, the struggle into a testimony. Don't limit God to what your eyes can see. Don't shrink his power down to the size of your problem. Your limits are only the start of his limitless strength. The same God who designed the stars and stretched the skies knows the number of hairs on your head and the depth of every thought in your heart. He knows exactly where you are, and he knows exactly how to bring you out. Sometimes he lets the struggle stay a little longer because it is shaping you for what he's preparing you for. Sometimes he lets the mountain stand tall in front of you so you will stop trying to climb it on your own strength and start learning to speak to it in his name. Sometimes he lets the night stretch long so that when the morning comes, you will know without a shadow of a doubt. It wasn't luck. It wasn't coincidence. It wasn't your own doing. It was God. The limits you see are not the limits God sees. What you call impossible, he calls easy. What you call dead, he calls sleeping. What you call broken beyond repair, he calls ready for a miracle. So don't give up when you've hit your limit. Don't throw away your hope when your strength runs out. God specializes in showing up right when you've got nothing left to give. He is not late. He is not absent. He is not silent. He is working even now in ways you cannot see. When your heart is weary, his strength is steady. Your faith is fading, his promises stand unshaken. When your plans fall apart, his purpose is still unfolding. Your weakness will never cancel his plan for you. Your struggles will never be too big for his grace. And your limits will never limit what he is able to do, so hold on. Your strength might be gone, but God's power is not. Your resources may be finished, but God's supply is endless. Your doors might be closed, but God holds the master key. Your chapter might look over, but God is still writing your story. What limits you will never limit him. There are moments in life when you look around and everything will feel still, silent, and stuck. You'll pray and it seems like no answer is coming. You'll knock and it seems like no doors are opening. You'll search for signs and it seems like heaven has gone quiet. But let me tell you something that will shift your whole perspective. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean God isn't working. God is always working, even when your eyes cannot detect it, even when your feelings do not confirm it, even when your circumstances do not reflect it. God is not idle. His silence is never a sign of absence. His delay is never a denial. There are things happening behind the scenes of your life beyond the reach of your understanding that are setting you up for something greater than what you prayed for. You see, when you plant a seed in the ground for a long time, all you see is dirt. Days pass, weeks pass, and still dirt. But beneath the soil, something powerful is taking place. That seed is splitting open, stretching, reaching, breaking through layers, taking root and preparing to push upward toward the light. The fact that you can't see it doesn't mean nothing is happening. Growth happens in hidden places first. And your life is no different. God often does his best work in the dark, in the quiet, in the seasons where it seems like nothing is moving. When doors aren't opening, when prayers seem unanswered, when your strength is worn thin and your patience is almost gone, that is the space where God is working the deepest. Because God isn't rushed by your timeline. He's not limited by your calendar. He knows the right moment, the perfect timing, the precise second when all the pieces will align and the breakthrough will appear. Sometimes he's protecting you from things you don't even know are in your path. Sometimes he's refining your heart so that you can handle what you've been asking for. Sometimes he's preparing the environment around you before he brings you into it. If he gave you the blessing too soon, it could break you. If he opened the door too early, you might not have the strength to walk through it. So in his love, he works in silence, he works in hiddenness, and he works with divine precision. But make no mistake, he is working. Every tear you've cried, he's counted. Every prayer you've whispered, he's heard. Every sleepless night you've endured, he's seen. And even when your faith wavers, even when your strength fails, even when your hope runs low, he is still faithful. He is still moving. He is still unfolding a plan that will make sense in time. The silence is not a sign of abandonment. It's a setup for revelation. The waiting is not wasted. God is weaving together details you haven't even imagined yet. He is shifting things you cannot see, aligning hearts you've never met, and making a way in places you didn't even know existed. So don't let the silence fool you. Don't let the waiting convince you that nothing's happening. Don't let the stillness shake your belief. The very moment you think nothing is moving is often the moment God is moving the most. Faith isn't built in the moments when you see everything going your way. Faith is forged in the moments when nothing looks like it's changing and you still choose to trust. Faith is what keeps you steady when your eyes see no evidence, but your heart knows God is faithful. Faith is what reminds you that the same God who began a good work in you is the same God who will bring it to completion in his perfect timing, not yours. So don't stop praying even if the answer hasn't arrived. Don't stop believing even if the evidence is invisible. Don't stop hoping even if the wait is longer than you expected. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean God isn't working. He is always working. And when the appointed time comes, the very things you thought would never shift will shift in a moment, and you'll look back and realize every silent day, every quiet night, every tear, every prayer was never in vain. God was working all along. Sometimes the very thing you thought was meant to break you is the thing God uses to build you. Life has a way of throwing heavy burdens on your back, situations that bend you so low you wonder if you'll ever stand tall again. But what if I told you that what feels like a breaking is really a shaping? What if I told you the crushing you feel is not the end of you, it's the beginning of something new inside of you? God uses pressure. God uses pain. God uses uncomfortable places to shape your character, strengthen your faith, and prepare you for what's next. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. Transformation doesn't happen on mountaintops alone. Some of the deepest, strongest, most powerful parts of your life are formed in the valleys of struggle, the trenches of heartbreak, the fires of disappointment. Because it's not in the moments when everything is easy that you find out who you are. It's in the moments when everything is hard, and yet you're going. God doesn't waste pain. He doesn't allow hurt to enter your life without weaving purpose into it. You may not see it right away. You may not understand it while you're in it. But when you come out on the other side, you will see that the pain wasn't designed to kill you, it was designed to prepare you. The breaking moments teach you how to let go of things that were only holding you back. They teach you how to release false hopes, shallow relationships, and unhealthy attachments. The breaking moments pull you out of your comfort zone and force you to lean on God in ways you never would have if life had stayed smooth. The breaking moments strip away everything that's fake, everything that's weak, everything that was never meant to last, so that God can fill you with something real, something strong, something eternal. Think about it. A seed has to break open before new life can emerge. A heart has to be softened, often through sorrow, before it can fully receive love and truth. A piece of gold has to go through fire before it shines, and your life is no different. The breaking isn't the end, it's the process. And on the other side of it, you will not be the same. You will be wiser, stronger, more compassionate, more faithful, more rooted in who you are and whose you are. Sometimes God allows the breaking to protect you from something far worse. He will let you experience the pain of letting go so you don't end up destroyed by holding on to the wrong things. He will allow you to feel the emptiness of loss so you can experience the fullness of his provision. He will allow the door to close so that you don't settle for less than what he intended for you. It may feel cruel in the moment. It may feel like abandonment. It may feel like you've been overlooked, forgotten, left behind. But God is not finished with you. He is breaking you free from things that cannot go with you into your future. He is breaking you away from limitations you thought you couldn't live without. He is breaking your heart open wide enough so that his love, his strength, his wisdom can flow into places that were blocked before. So don't let the breaking make you bitter. Let it make you better. Don't let the breaking convince you've been rejected. Let it remind you you've been chosen for a deeper transformation. The breaking is a sign that God loves you too much to leave you where you are. It's proof that he's working even when it hurts. It's a reminder that something greater is on the other side. When the breaking season ends, you will stand up taller, not because you avoided the pain, but because you endured it and were refined by it. You will walk in rooms with confidence, not because life was easy, but because you survived seasons that tried to crush you. You will speak from a place of compassion, not because you never struggled, but because you know what it feels like to be broken, and you know what it feels like to be healed. So if you're in a season where everything feels like it's falling apart, if your heart is breaking, if your dreams feel shattered, if your soul feels heavy, don't give up. Don't walk away. Don't assume God is finished with you. The breaking is not the end of your story, it's the beginning of a new chapter. God is shaping you, strengthening you, stretching you, and preparing you for something beyond what you can see. What feels like breaking today will look like building when you see it from the other side. Trust the process even when it hurts, because God never allows the breaking without preparing the blessing. One of the most powerful and life-changing truths you will ever hold on to is this: God does not define you by your past. People will. Your mind will try. The enemy will certainly try. But God, the one who shaped you, the one who knows you, the one who loves you, does not hold your past against you. So many people walk around chained to yesterday, trapped in the shame of mistakes, failures, and choices that went wrong. You replay conversations you can't change. You relive moments you can't undo. You stare at the ruins of what once was and wonder, will I ever move forward? But let me remind you, your past is not your prison, and your history is not your destiny. God knows every choice you've made, the good, the bad, and the ones you'd rather forget. He sees every scar you try to cover up. He hears the silent cries you buried deep down. And still, he does not turn away from you. He does not label you a failure. He does not reject you, abandon you, or disqualify you. Instead, he extends mercy. Mercy is what meets you in your lowest moment and lifts you back up. Mercy is what steps into your story, not after you've cleaned yourself up, but right there in the middle of the mess. Mercy says, I know what you've done, but I also know who you are. Mercy says your past is real, but it is not your identity. Mercy says you may have fallen, but you are still worthy of love, still worthy of purpose, still worthy of another chance. You see, God's mercy is not limited by human standards. People will hold your past over your head, but God will place his hand on your shoulder and remind you, I've already forgiven that. People will remind you of how many times you've fallen, but God will remind you how many times he has picked you back up. People will look at your record and see disqualification, but God looks at your heart and sees redemption. The world wants you to believe that your past has the final word, but the only voice that has the final word over your life is the voice of God, and his word is mercy. His word is grace. His word is restoration. God doesn't use perfect people. He uses willing hearts. And sometimes the very thing you're most ashamed of, the very moment you thought would disqualify you forever, becomes the very place where his strength shines the brightest. His power is made perfect in weakness. His mercy flows freely over every crack in your story. Your past might have shaped you, but it does not define you. The hurt, the loss, the failure, they might have left a mark, but they did not cancel your calling. God is not finished writing your story. He's the author, and as long as he's still writing, no chapter, no matter how dark, can define the ending. Sometimes God allows your past to humble you so that you don't become prideful when he lifts you. Sometimes he uses your past to give you compassion for others walking through what you survived. Sometimes he lets the memory of your past remind you not of your guilt, but of his grace. Don't let your past talk you out of your future. Don't let what you've done convince you that you can't be used for something great. God knew every failure you would face before you took your first breath, and still he chose you. Still he called you. Still he loves you. There is no mistake too big for his mercy. There is no sin too dark for his forgiveness. There is no past too broken for his healing. Your past is a place of reference, not a place of residence. You are not called to live there. You are called to learn from it, grow beyond it, and walk forward into the newness that God offers every single day. His mercies are new every morning. That means you don't have to stay trapped in yesterday. You don't have to wear your shame like a name tag. You don't have to live bound to who you used to be. God has declared you redeemed, restored, and renewed, and no mistake from your past can override his promise for your future. So lift your head. Let go of the weight. Release the guilt. Stop rehearsing the regrets. God has already forgiven what you're still holding against yourself. The page has turned. A new chapter is waiting. And the author is not writing your story based on where you've been, but based on where he's leading you. Your past might remind you, but it will never define you. God's mercy is greater than your history, and his plan for you is still alive, still unfolding, still full of hope. One of the greatest lies that will try to settle in your heart during hard times is the thought that you are alone, that no one sees your struggle, that no one hears your silent cries, that no one understands the weight you carry behind the smile you force yourself to wear. But I came to remind you today, God sees everything you are facing. He knows your silent battles, and he understands the burdens that words can't even describe. Sometimes we become so good at hiding our pain from people that we start to believe we've hidden it from God too. We cover it with busy schedules. We hide it behind polite conversations. We bury it under the noise of the world and distractions. But no matter how deep you try to bury it, God sees beyond the surface. He looks past the mask. He reads the ache in your silence. He knows the fears you've never spoken out loud. He knows the prayers you whispered in the dark when no one was around to hear. You see, God doesn't need an announcement to notice your pain. You don't have to perform for his attention. You don't have to explain every detail for him to understand. Before the words even leave your lips, he already knows the full weight of what your heart is carrying. Before a tear ever falls, he knows the reason behind it. Before you even kneel in prayer, he has already drawn near to you. The beautiful truth about God is that he is near to the brokenhearted. He doesn't wait for you to be strong again before he shows up. He meets you right in the middle of your weakness, right in the middle of your questions, right in the middle of your confusion and exhaustion. Even when you feel like you're walking through the valley all by yourself, you are never walking alone. His presence goes before you, walks beside you, and surrounds you. It's easy to believe that God is with you when things are going well, when doors are opening, when prayers are being answered, when blessings are overflowing. But the real test of faith is in those silent seasons when your heart is breaking, when the silence feels deafening, when the answers seem delayed, when nothing around you shows signs of change. That's when you need to hold on to the truth that God's presence is not based on your feelings and his love is not measured by your circumstances. God doesn't just see your outward actions, he sees your heart. He sees the courage it takes to get out of bed on days you wanted to give up. He sees the strength it takes to smile through the storm. He sees the faith it takes to pray, even when the answers haven't come. He sees the way you hold on to hope, even when your hands are trembling. And every ounce of your hidden struggle is precious to him. Sometimes he allows you to walk through these silent struggles because there are lessons in the quiet that you would never learn in the crowd. There's a depth of intimacy with God that is only forged in the private moments when your strength is gone and all you can do is lean on him. There's a strength that only comes when your own strength fails and you have no choice but to be carried by his. God is not distant. He is not watching your struggle from afar. He is present in ways you cannot see. Sometimes his silence is not absence, it's strategy. He's teaching you to trust beyond what you feel, to believe beyond what you see, to stand firm even when the ground beneath you shakes. And here's the powerful part. God will use your silent struggles to strengthen you. He will use them to shape you, refine you, and prepare you for the very blessings you've been praying for. Sometimes the season of silence is the season of preparation. Sometimes the private battles are building public victories. So don't let your silent struggle convince you that God is not near. Don't let the absence of noise make you doubt his presence. Sometimes the most powerful work God does in your life happens quietly behind the scenes, deep within your heart. And when the time is right, what he has been building in silence will be revealed in strength. You are not invisible to God. You are not forgotten. You are fully known and deeply loved. Every tear is counted, every prayer is heard, every silent struggle is seen, and God in his perfect timing will bring you through stronger, wiser, and more anchored in faith than ever before. Hold on. Help is closer than you think. One of the most soul-stirring truths you'll ever need to hold close is this: God's plan for you is always greater than the pain you're experiencing. Even when life seems unfair, even when the nights stretch long and the days feel heavy, even when your heart is broken, your mind is exhausted, and your spirit feels defeated, God is never wasting your pain. It's never meaningless, never random, and never outside of his reach. You see, pain has a way of making you feel stuck. It convinces you that this moment, this heartbreak, this loss, this disappointment is the end of the road. Pain tells you that nothing good can come from this. But the God who holds your life is a God who specializes in turning pain into purpose, ashes into beauty, and brokenness into strength. Sometimes you can't see the plan because all you see is the problem. You can't feel the purpose because the pain is too loud. You can't trace his hand because the tears cloud your vision. But God is always working, even when you can't see it. Behind every delay, every closed door, every heartbreak, he is aligning, arranging, preparing, and shaping something far greater than your temporary pain. Think about this: a seed must be buried in darkness before it can ever break through the soil and reach the light. A diamond is formed under intense pressure before it ever shines. Gold is refined through fire before it ever becomes pure. And sometimes the crushing moments of life are not signs of God's abandonment, but proof of his preparation. Your pain is preparing you. It's stretching your faith, deepening your character, sharpening your wisdom, and building your strength. It is not comfortable, but it is necessary. Because if God allowed you to step into the blessings without the growth, the blessing would crush you. The strength you need for tomorrow is built in the struggle you're facing today. God's plan is not just to comfort you in the pain, but to transform you through it, to take what the enemy meant for harm and use it for good, to take the very thing that tried to break you and turn it into the very thing that builds you, to take your wounds and turn them into wisdom, to take your loss and turn it into legacy, to take your weakness and reveal his strength. Often the very thing you're asking God to remove is the thing he's using to reveal your purpose. Often the very place you feel most broken is the place he will use to bless others. The pain that humbles you, shapes you, teaches you, and refines you is the same pain that positions you for what's next. And don't mistake the silence for abandonment. Just because you can't feel God doesn't mean he isn't there. Just because the situation hasn't changed yet doesn't mean his plan isn't unfolding. God is patient. He is precise. He knows the exact moment to lift you, the exact moment to shift the season, the exact moment to reveal the blessing. And when he does, you'll see why the wait was necessary, why the pain was part of the process, and why he allowed it all to unfold the way it did. Nothing is wasted with God. No tear, no heartbreak, no sleepless night, no setback. Everything you've walked through is part of the story. He's writing a story bigger than you, a story deeper than you could imagine, a story where even the pain has purpose. So today, don't let the pain define you. Let it remind you that God is still in control, that he's still writing, that he's still weaving the broken pieces into something beautiful, that the plan is still unfolding and the final chapter is not written in tears, but in triumph. Hold on to hope, even in the dark, even in the silence, even in the hurt. Because when God finished what he started, you will stand and testify that the pain you thought would break you was actually the very thing God used to bless you. His plan is always bigger, always better, and always worth the wait. And so I want you to hear me, really hear me deep in your spirit when I tell you this. Everything you are walking through, every tear you've cried, every silent battle you fought, every moment you felt forgotten, every time your heart was shattered into pieces, none of it was wasted. Not one moment of your pain was unseen by God. Not one second of your waiting went unnoticed. Not one crack in your heart was beyond his reach. You see, what you thought was breaking you, God was using to make you. What you thought would destroy you, God was using to develop you. What you thought was the end, God had already written as a new beginning, because your story isn't finished. Your pain is not the conclusion. Your heartbreak is not the period at the end of your sentence. It is simply a pause, a comma, a page turn in a much bigger, much more beautiful, and much more powerful story that God is still unfolding in your life. Sometimes God allows you to be broken not to harm you, but to humble you. Sometimes he lets your heart break so your soul can be saved. Sometimes he lets you walk through the valley so you can learn to trust him beyond the mountaintop. Sometimes he lets you feel the weight of weakness so you will discover the endless depth of his mercy. You see, when you are weak, that's when his strength shows up the strongest. When you are at the end of yourself, that's when his power begins. When your hands can't hold it together anymore, that's when his hands take over. You are not here by accident. You are not enduring this season for no reason. There is greatness being formed in the pressure. There is purpose being refined in the fire. There is destiny being shaped in the struggle. It doesn't matter how many times you've fallen. It doesn't matter how many people counted you out. It doesn't matter how dark the night has been. The story isn't over. The author is still writing. And when God writes the ending, it is always greater than the beginning. You may have walked through betrayal, but restoration is coming. You may have endured loss, but new life is on the way. You may have tasted loneliness, but divine connection is being prepared. You may have faced rejection, but favor is chasing you down. You may have been bruised, but you are not broken beyond repair. You may have questioned your worth, but God never stopped seeing your value. You may have felt forgotten, but you have always been held in the palm of his hand. So lift your head, strengthen your heart, shake off the shame, let go of the fear. Stop measuring your future by the pain of your past. Stop counting yourself out when God has already counted you in. Stop doubting what he can do just because you haven't seen it yet. Because even in your weakest moment, his mercy was at work. Even when you were surrounded by silence, his plan was still unfolding. Even when you felt lost, his hand was guiding you. God is not finished with you. If he woke you up today, that means there's still purpose for your life. If you still have breath in your lungs, that means he's not done writing your testimony. And I promise you, the same heart that broke in this season will be the same heart that sings in the next. The same eyes that cried tears of sorrow will see days of joy. The same hands that felt too weak to hold on will be lifted in victory. The same voice that whispered prayers through pain will shout praises in triumph. So hold on. Trust the process. Trust the breaking. Trust the waiting. Trust the silence. Trust the detours. Trust the delays, because when the time is right, God will turn the page. When the time is right, God will open the door. When the time is right, God will shift the season. And when he does, you'll look back and understand why it had to happen the way it did. Your heart may have been broken, but your soul is being saved. Your strength may have run out, but his mercy never will. Your story isn't over. In fact, the best is still yet to come.